Hello guys, and welcome to the channel. I am now the chess Viking. I'm a Viking, I play chess. The chess Viking. It's in my blood. It's my heritage. My name is Ingvar Thor. Thor is a thunder god. So now we will be known as the chess Viking. And as such, we're going to look at a true Viking game by my Viking brother from England, Simon Williams. A game he recently played at the Reykjavik Open. Fantastic game. You have to see it to believe it. Now, before the game starts, we did meet up before the tournament and we were looking at some lines in the Slav defense. There's a line that he has played, that I have played, and we were sharing some ideas. And wouldn't you know it, in the second round of the Reykjavik Open, he got to play this exact line. And he said he played it because we went over these lines and he was really hyped up for those lines. So let's have a look at the game and we'll also see the lines that I'm talking about. So d4 was played by Simon, d5. His opponent, a titled player from Ukraine, Anastasia Rakhmangulova, c4 by Simon, and c6. And now the good thing about this line that Simon is playing is that it's also psychological, because now in the Slav it's quite well known. When people take on d5, as Simon did, usually it leads to like a quiet game. It's called the exchange Slav. And it usually builds up slowly, so you're going to have a slow game, you might have to defend, you have good chances for a draw. But this is not in the spirit of Simon Williams, and this is not in the spirit of the Viking. But Simon had something in mind. Knight c3, knight f6, and now the move f3. And this is a very tricky move, one that Simon has played before. But it has some great ideas, and it's an excellent line to play as a surprise weapon. You can really catch your opponent out on this. Now, first of all, ideas with bishop f5 are now, I wouldn't play this. If I was playing black and I hadn't seen this, I wouldn't play bishop f5. You have to worry about all sorts of things like queen b3. At the right time, you can hit him with e4, with g4, even bishop g5 immediately might be a good move. Plenty of good moves. I've actually played this tons, both in classical and blitz, and people tend not to go bishop f5 because they think, okay, f3, they think you have something in mind. So I've gotten away kind of with a bluff here. The move you will see almost every time is knight c6. The move that Simon's opponent played here was pawn to e6. Now, before getting into what was played in the game, let's have a look at what I had a look with Simon. So, first of all, knight c6 is one of the main moves. And here, both me and Simon, we know there's a very dangerous line where white goes e4. And if you take it, we go d5, the knight moves, and there's f takes e4. Now, we could go into details, but white gets very tricky play here, especially after e6, the key move, knight f3. After takes, queen takes, pawn takes, e5, knight e4, bishop e5, check. There's this absolutely massive move, rook f1, avoiding any queen checks on b6. And black is actually in big trouble here. If he survives, he has a worse ending, and that's if he survives. So we're going to back it down. Now, if your opponent knows you're going to play this, he might check this with a computer. And the computer will say, queen b6, it's a great move. It's a fantastic move. But then, we will hit them with e4. They're going to take, most likely, and play e5. They'll do that because they look at this in computer, so the computer says this, and they will play it. And this was actually one of my best pieces of preparation ever. I was preparing this with one of my students for the European Youth Championship in Bratislava some years ago. And we prepared it for the game, but it didn't actually show up. But a month later, my student had this in a game, and his game went exactly like this. His opponent had clearly prepared on the computer, so he played, after e5, we played bishop e5 check. Okay, black is still in computer preparation, plays knight c6. Computer says these are the best moves, we play d5. So now there's a pin. Black needs to break the pin. And he does so by playing bishop b4. Now this pin is a knight, so black can take this bishop. That's the idea. So white protects the bishop, queen d3. But now black breaks the pin, or tries to do so with a6, bishop a4, and now queen a5. And now again, if I take on c6, we will take the bishop on a4, and black is doing great. So the bishop retreats, bishop d1, and now we're trying to take the knight. So the knight has to move, and we bring this out. And I saw some correspondence games in this, which went around to this point, but then deviated. And I thought there must be some idea. I mean, why is white playing like this and are now allowing black to take here on e4? He can take the pawn on e4, and the computer will say, you can take the pawn on e4. But the computer is wrong. Give it more time, and it will come around. But after knight takes e4, black is in a world of hurt. And this is exactly how my student's game went. Like I said earlier, he took on e4, bishop takes c3, and it looks like black is winning material. We take, queen takes c3 check. Okay, king moves, king f2, and they grab the rook in the corner. But lo and behold, we play bishop e3. And there's another rook. Now black gets mated in all lines as the queen takes e5, except one, bishop e6. If you go king d8, there's bishop e6. If you go king f8, there's bishop c5. You can figure that one out, it's going to be made. So bishop e6, the only move. Now we take it, castles, pawn to e7. We're down 2 exchanges and a pawn. But after rook e8, there's bishop d4, threatening mate. Looks like black is just defending f6, blunts the diagonal, but we have bishop c4, king to the corner, and then kapow! Queen takes f6. The hammer blow, Thor's hammer. This was my preparation for my student, and this he got to play. And wow, to play a game like this, you know, prepared, unbelievable feeling. But okay, let's go back to Simon's game. So Simon's opponent did what a lot of people do here. If they don't play knight c6, which is by far the most common move, they will play the move e6. And this is what Anastasiya played. Now e4 by Simon, and now black has a choice. Do you take on e4, as Anastasiya did, or do you allow white to play e5? If you allow white to play e5, let's say knight c6, we actually have a good friends for white. Because although we lost the tempo by playing f3, f4, I mean he has to go knight f6, d7, and we got the knight to c3. So it's kind of a good version. So in the game, Anastasia took on e4. Simon took back. And now the main move is to play bishop e4. And if you play this, you should know that after bishop e4, you should go queen d3. The game goes on, it's a good position. Something to study further, but you have to know queen d3 is the move and you'll be okay. The reason you can't play bishop d3, which is the ideal move, if you can play it, you should play it. One trick is, of course, if they take this pawn, we give a check here, and then take the queen. But the problem is, they can take on e4 in this position. And if you take with the bishop, there's queen h4 check. If g3 they take, if king's somewhere, we take on c3, and then take the bishop. We win material. So that's why we have to play queen d3. But I think here, this is where Anastasia made a small inaccuracy. She played knight c6 first, hitting the pawn. Now Simon played the natural move, knight to f3, the knight is out, and now bishop e4. But now the problem is, well, queen d3 doesn't make as much sense now, we don't have the flexibility of going here, plus we want to play the ideal move, which Simon did, bishop d3. And now you can't take on e4, because I just take, and there's no check on h4. The knight is covering it. So you have to do something else. But the problem is, if you castle, I'll play e5, and you have to worry about the Greek gift. So what ended up happening is that Anastasia played bishop to a5. And I think her idea was to put pressure on d4. If I castle, she wants to go here, put pressure here, you can maybe increase it with e5. And you know, white struggles with the d4 pawn. But Simon had an idea. He pushed e5 here. Knight to d5, and now he castled. Said, you want this pawn, you are free to take it. And that's what she did. She took the pawn, bc, bishop c. Okay, we move the rook away. Now there's another pawn up for grabs. But I guess, how would you feel about grabbing this pawn against Simon? I'm not sure. But if you take this pawn, Simon's going to probably play bishop a3. Just close the king here. He's going to have loads of open lines. I don't think this is something you want to play against the GingerGM, the Viking, in this kind of position. So she tried to get castled, h6. If you castle immediately, of course, there's still going to be bishop takes h7, Greek gift. So h6, trying to get castled, but of course Simon is not going to allow that. Bishop a3, this king is caught here on e8. So what black tried to do here, she played a5, intending to blunt this diagonal and get the king castled. Still, you can take this pawn, but again, who wants to do that? You open lines. It looks very dangerous. Might even be close to lost. I'm not sure. After a5, queen a4. Another strong move by Simon, and now all the pieces are playing. The rooks are on half open files. The bishop is blunting here. This bishop ready. Active knight. Good pawns. Active queen. Black is uncastled. Nothing coordinated. Is this worth a pawn? I don't think so, Tim. So now if you do, okay, you can still take this pawn, but just king h1, and you know what's going on. You're still not castled. You opened up the d-file. You're in big trouble. So what Anastasia tried to do was play bishop d7. And she figured, okay, plotted this diagonal. And she wanted to do that because if you play bishop b4 immediately, I can just take it. Knight takes and rook takes b4. And this pin means that this rook is going to drop off. But now, after bishop d7, Anastasia's idea is that she can blunt this diagonal, get castled, and then hopefully enjoy the extra pawn. But Simon had other ideas. I think Anastasia saw this, but she thought it was impossible because after rook takes b7, knight takes d4. And this is what happened in the game. Now still, white can bring the queen back and it's an unclear game. Game goes on, we're not yet castled. White has super compensation for a pawn. But Simon found something better, something more epic. He took the knight on d4. And now you have no choice. If you don't take my queen, I just want a piece. And I'm attacking. So what to do? Anastasia took the queen. But now another fantastic move. Knight takes e6. This is super stuff. Now we have a lot of themes coming together here. And to think, you know, the way Simon found this is if you back off a little bit in this position here. Like and it doesn't look like something's going to happen on e6. But, you know, there's some game by Alichain, by Rawson, where you have this kind of potence mate. You know, these patterns for strong players, they come together. Now this is blocked. If I can land a bishop here, it's mate. So Simon, with his crazy attacking style, he sees that. So he sees the opportunity. If I can somehow break through here, this is mate. So that's how he, you know, lands at the idea to go here and take this. Because if you take it, it's mate here, bishop d6. Beautiful stuff. But of course, taking is not forced. And in fact, probably queen d7 is the best way to try to squirm. But I think the simplest way is just to take this queen. And if you take with the bishop, I can just go knight c7 and take a rook. I'm up a piece, no problems. The other idea would be to, after this, take with the king, but then knight c5. I take this. I have two pieces of a rook, super active pieces. Bishop is hanging, etc. White is close to completely winning. Well, he's completely winning. But Anastasia tried something different. She went here. We should mention that if you take this bishop, there's rook e7. Bishop covers the rook, and the knight covers this. Beautiful checkmate pattern. So Anastasia tried to keep control of the e7 square with the queen here. Queen h4. But now simply rook takes f7. And now we renew the threat of rook e7. And the beautiful thing is that everything works out. If you give a check here, I simply interpose. And there's no check here, even if there was, just king h1. And we're going to land a mate here. So after this, Anastasia tried to block the bishop from covering e7. Now there's no rook e7 checkmate. But actually having removed the f7 pawn, now we reintroduce the threat of introducing this bishop. We play the final move, the coup de grace. Thor's hammer, rook f8. And black was signed because of the beautiful finish. Well, either bishop takes or rook takes. There's going to be bishop g6 check, followed by checkmate. What a game by the GingerGM Simon Williams. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.